Leadbeater.
Thank you, Sir Edward, it's a great pleasure to follow the honourable member, who is almost my namesake, but I'm a beater rather than a bitter. And it's a great pleasure to speak on His Majesty's first King's Speech under a Labour government. We promised change, and as I look around Parliament, I see an awful lot of change. People in new places and so many new faces. I'm really enjoying starting to get to know many of the newly elected members, mostly in my own party, but in others too. To them, I say welcome, and to you, Mr Deputy Speaker, and to your team, I say good luck learning everybody's names and faces. By coincidence, the general election on the 4th of July, the election which has put me in this place as the first MP for the new Spen Valley constituency, came just 3 days after the 3rd anniversary of the Batley and Spen by-election, when I was first elected to this place. And I think it's fair to say that a lot has changed in just 3 short years. I remember pounding the streets of Batley and Spen in 2021 during challenging times, full of uncertainty, division, and for many people, fear. The dark cloud of the COVID pandemic still hung over us. Many people were struggling with the cost of living, and politics felt worryingly polarised in this and other countries. And I think it's fair to say that the Labour Party was not in a great place. Many doubted we would see power again in 10 years, never mind 3. And if the result in Batley and Spen played its part in turning things around to get us where we are today, then I'm delighted we were able to help. But whilst I was delighted with the result, the Batley and Spen by-election was not a pleasant experience. At times we saw the worst of what politics can look like. Unacceptable behaviour from those who use our precious democracy as a means to divide us rather than unite us. My constituents deserved better, and I hoped passionately then that no other candidate would have to go through what I went through. Sadly, that has not been the case. Whilst I was relieved that in the general election campaign in Spen Valley, things were conducted mostly in a civilised manner, the same could not be said elsewhere. Many candidates and their supporters, often women, faced threats, harassment and abuse. None of this should be part of any job, and this is not what our politics should look like. We must not normalise it, and we must all do our bit to change it. So on this, the first day of the first debate in a new Parliament, we all have the opportunity to reset the dial on politics and work towards a political culture which fosters robust, rigorous debate and scrutiny, but does not allow fear, intimidation and abuse to become the norm. As His Majesty said, this government will take steps to rebuild trust and foster respect. I wholeheartedly agree with this approach and will work with colleagues across the House in this endeavour. Mr Speaker, I am a realistic optimist. Mr Deputy Speaker, I'm still a realistic optimist. But I know that it's not going to be easy to bring the change that our country needs. But this new Parliament fills me with hope. I see around me people who are determined to be part of the change for a better kind of politics. What the Prime Minister quite rightly described as the return of politics to public service, and which he correctly said can only be achieved through actions, not words. With so many new faces, so much new energy and commitment, I believe we have a once-in-a-generation opportunity in this place to change not just the government, although that is certainly welcome, but the whole culture of politics, to restore the business we are all in to one that people can look at with respect. And that starts with how we behave in here. Because whether we like it or not, this chamber is the window into our national politics. If we treat each other in here with courtesy, if we listen to the arguments of those we disagree with as politely as those who we support, and if we show that we can air our differences passionately but with genuine respect, then people at home will notice. It would be the right thing to do even if they didn't, but I believe they will. My constituents in Spen Valley want to see change. They sent me here to deliver it, and I will not let them down. It's a wonderful part of West Yorkshire, where people have a real sense of pride in where they're from, whether that's the towns of Heckmondwike, Mirfield, Birstall or Cleckheaton, or the many beautiful surrounding villages. Too many to list, but I'll certainly be making sure they all get a mention over the next 5 years. And I understand that pride, because I share it. It's where I was born and have lived all my life. In Spen Valley, we tell it like it is. We're not easily fooled, and we take no nonsense. So my constituents will only believe in change when they see it and when they feel it. This King's Speech sets out the busy but exciting agenda to make that change happen, and the duty falls on us to make sure it does. Whether it's affordable housing, safer streets and more police in our communities, tackling antisocial behaviour and violence against women and girls, shorter waiting times and better access to GPs and dentists on the NHS, better education and opportunities for the young, academic and vocational, including those with special educational needs and disabilities, reliable public transport, support for people with mental health, and social care that offers dignity in old age and for the most vulnerable in our society. And I'm all for giving local people more power to make decisions that affect their lives. So I welcome the Deputy Prime Minister's pledge to kick-start a devolution revolution. And with the economic growth and prosperity that underpins all of this and helps give them a bit more at the end of the month. Another thing about Yorkshire people is that we don't waste money. And we know that you can't spend what you haven't got. So when my good friend, fellow Yorkshire MP and our first female Chancellor, the member for Leeds West and Pudsey, warns that we have got to get the nation's finances in good order, that it has to be our first priority, people get it. Politics as public service relies above all on trust and honesty. Only if we are straight with people about the challenges we face as a country, and if we have honest conversations with our constituents about what we can and sometimes what we can't do or can't do straight away, will they start to have faith in politics as a force for good in their lives. We have in our hands today a tremendous opportunity to begin the transformation of this country into a country that is looked on once again with respect around the world, ready to step up and play our part, whether that's tackling climate change or defending democracy when it's under threat, or doing everything we can to end the appalling and devastating conflicts in the Middle East, Ukraine and elsewhere. A country, in short, of which we can all be proud. There's a lot of work to do, but the time starts now. Yeah.